Hi there, I'm Nick Barraclough, President at AKCP, and welcome to our series of videos where we are looking at the construction of our test data center, or what we are nicknaming our physical twin. So in the test data center, we are putting in a basically 1 megawatt facility where we can test and develop AKCP technologies, and we're also opening it up to other vendors who maybe have technology for the data center that they need to experiment with and can't get access to a real live working data center, which is difficult. So that's why this was built and been developed. For those of you who've been following along, you'll know that we have various different styles of data center being set up. We've got hot aisle containment, cold aisle containment, we have raised access floor, we have fan walls, we have in-row AHUs. So we can configure the system in many different ways to analyze what is the best design, and also as well utilize our sensors in a replica of the customer's actual environment. So it's been a long project, but we're coming towards the end of it now, and it's starting to look more like a data center. And we have had our power connected finally, and we also now have hoisted our overhead heat exchangers into place, and we are starting to lay out now the water pipe network. So we have quite a complex system of pipes and valves that will allow us to configure the system in lots of different ways for different types of experiments. So let's go down and take a look at the progress on all of that. Okay, so moment of truth. We're going to connect the power from the main line through to the transformer with this outside isolator breaker. Hey guys, so we're ready now to energize the system. We've already got the main line connected. We've put the main breaker that isolates the transformer already on. Check the voltage there is 480. So what we should have now coming into here after the transformer is 380. So we'll just remove this panel so we can get access to the terminals, flip this on and check that we're getting 380 volts coming into the facility. Okay, so before we flip the breaker, we'll test the incoming side. We've got 381, 382. So we've got 380 volts now coming in. So we're ready to flip the breaker and connect that power out to the rest of the building. Okay, so now we've tested all of the panels. We've made sure that we've got 380 coming into the main breaker on each one. So now we can start doing some of the sub breakers and sending power out to other areas of the data center for us to test those. Okay, so one of the first things we're going to test out will be the fan wall. We'll make sure that we've got power coming to here and turn these on, and hopefully everything is wired up correctly, and we'll get some air coming out. Fan wall on. So here we are in our hot aisle containment in hall number 1 of the test data center. And what you've just seen is the overhead heat exchangers being hoisted up into place. So above me here, we have these overhead heat exchangers. There will be a chimney built around these. And so the concept here is that we can open up the containment ceiling. We can allow the hot air to rise. It'll go through those heat exchangers and be cooled down. So they can function like an in-row AHU, but we've moved it on top of the containment so it frees up some space. So that's one method of cooling, and that's why we've lifted those overhead heat exchangers up there. We're running a test now. We've got power on our setup for each one of the racks. So rather than filling each one of the racks with actual servers, our heat load is coming from space heaters. So you'll see what we've got arranged down here is 3 9-kilowatt space heaters. Each one of these will be mounted in the rack. So we have a total of 27 kilowatts potential per rack of heat load that we can generate. And then we've got a series of 3 fans which will be on the front of the rack, which will be pulling the cold air in and cooling off these heaters. So that's how we're going to be generating our heat load in here. So 27 kilowatts a rack. In a 10 rack pod, we've got 270 kilowatts in one of the pods. Those are being powered by our overhead bus bars. So we're just testing out. Now we've got the power connected today that this is all working. So we've got individual switches on these heaters, on the individual heating elements. So these are 3-phase heaters, and we've wired them 1 heating element per phase. So in a 9-kilowatt heater, we've got 3 3-kilowatt heating elements. And we can turn those on and off, so I can operate one of these heaters at either 3, 6, or 9 kilowatts. So we can adjust the loads in the racks through those switches. We'll also be adding in some relays, so we can also do simulations where we are varying heat loads with the relays randomly turning on and off. That will also help to protect the heaters from overheating. So this current test setup was just to make sure that the bus duct and everything was all working. And then we're going to be getting these mounted inside of the racks. So we've got some special enclosures that we've built where the fans mount and also the heaters go. So we can make sure that all of the air is being directed through those heaters and we don't get bypass air. So that'll be one of the next things that we need to set up. But for today, we're just making sure now we've got our power connected that everything's working properly and nothing's going bang. So the other thing that we are working on now down here is installing the water pipe network. So you can see we've been laying it out here on the floor initially, making sure that we have all of the connections correct. And here's an example of one of our switching stations where we're able to mix water and choose the source of the water that's coming into the cooling system. So we'll be doing some more videos, more in depth on the exact operations of our cooling system when everything's operational. So if we follow this around, basically we have a main loop which will be carrying our chilled water, and that main loop goes all the way around and returns the water back to the chiller. And along the way, from the 4-inch main loop, we have 2-inch tap-offs which take the water out to the individual containment pods, And then from those 2-inch tap-offs, we split into 1 inch, which goes to the 2 AHUs, which are inside of each one. Now on the fan wall, we will also have connections there. So we'll have a 2-inch line running in with 1-inch tap-offs, which will go to each one of the heat exchangers there. So this is probably the most complex part of the water switching system here, laid out on the floor. So we have pressure and temperature sensors, we have variable valves, we have pressure independent control valves, so we can control flow rates, we can shut off different parts of the data center when they're not in use, and we can also monitor, obviously, temperature and pressure around the whole system. So this allows us to put together analytics of the performance of the cooling system and allows us to then do different experiments and collect the data that we need. So this whole test data center has really been designed for us to conduct experiments and test new ideas and theories and data center designs. Inside of the actual racks themselves, we are not putting servers, we're putting space heaters. So we have 9 kilowatt space heaters, 3 of them gives us 27 kilowatts per rack. And we can see on this one how we're going to have that set up. So we've just been testing one here just to make sure that as we had the power connected, that the bus bars and everything were all working. So this is one that's non-populated yet, but basically we have the fan, which is on here, and on the other side of that is the heater. So we are making sure that all of the air, we don't get bypass air, all of the air is being funneled through that heater so we can maximize our air usage and cooling in here. So each one of the racks is equipped basically exactly the same. We'll also have VFDs as well, so we can control the speeds of the fans. So we can also do experiments where we balance pressures and experiment with different methods also of moving the air around the data center. So that's our progress so far. It is, coming closer to fruition now and starting to look more like a real data center. Over the coming couple of weeks, we're going to be getting all of the water pipes connected up and raised up. So we need to build some gantries to support that stuff. Obviously, it won't be down here on the floor. Then once that's done, we populate all of the racks with our heaters, and we can start turning things on and testing it. So as you can see, lots of progress, and it's really coming together and it's starting to look like an actual data center now. But for those of you who are not familiar with what it is we're doing down there, I'm going to show you now a short 3D clip which describes to you in detail exactly what it is we're building and how the final finished product is going to look. And you can see that it's actually starting to now look like the 3D, so it's getting quite exciting. So for those of you who've been following along and already familiar with this, you can skip through the next few moments of the video. And I would say, don't forget to like and subscribe, follow along with our videos, and make sure that you keep up to date with all of the latest news from AKCP. So what you can see on the screen right now is our 3D representation of the test data center that's under construction. We've got hot aisle containment, cold aisle containment, fan walls. We have a few videos which go into more detail on this, which you can check out the link in the description. In addition to the hot aisle containment with the rooftop heat exchangers, we'll also have in-row AHUs and the fan wall in there. And then in our cold aisle containment area, we have a raised access floor and in-row AHUs also.